Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Francorchamps, one of the classic race circuits beloved by drivers and spectators alike. Where today, the true essence of speed can be explored in spectacular style on relative safety and on a modern facility. However, it was never quite like that. The original incarnation, Spa, it was a circuit truly to be feared as opposed to many dangers like no other. Fast straights along public roads, sweeping corners and unpredictable weather could combine create a lethal combination, and sadly, it all too often did. But thanks to the beauty of sim racing, we don't need to worry about any of that today, because it is time for round 2 of the ARL GT Americas series. I'm Tim Cox with Charles Bushell. Welcome along, Charles. I get the feeling this is going to be fast, furious, and exciting tonight.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. Thanks for having me along. Yeah, it's going to be a great race. Obviously, classic track. The only thing that really gets hurt around here are people's feelings. So it's going to be a good race, and I'm looking forward to it. We've got some new drivers this week, so it's going to be a little bit bigger field, and so I'm looking for some exciting racing.
Now, Charles, qualifying around Spa is always a bit of a tricky one because of that long outlap. The drivers have 10 minutes. However, they're realistically only going to get a couple of laps in, aren't they? Because of, well, tyre wear and how risking that sort of fuel consumption of do you go much lighter with your car and maximise that sort of one chance you're going to get with your tyres, maybe two, or do you fuel up a bit heavier, go for that third lap, try and cram it in, it'll be tight, but just about possible in these cars, but you won't have your tyres at optimum. It's a tricky conundrum qualifying around here.
Yeah, it really is, Tim. It's just, you know, you want to get the tires in the right operating temp, so you have to put some pace in the car, and you gotta put the car through the corners, but then you run that risk of potentially going too hard on cold tires and bending the car, and now you just burnt a couple of minutes off of your quality time, and so that just puts that much more pressure on you to go out and do a good quality lap with very little opportunity to make mistakes.
Let's take a quick look at the championship standings, how we stand after round 1. Road Atlanta, well, the pros, Spencer Hewins leading the way on 140 points. Points are given out for qualifying, with the top 15 in qualification picking up points, but the vast majority are going across to race points, so nice taking into consideration with, well, Delgado not far behind and Lewis not far behind either. Still a long season ahead, nothing to worry about with any big gaps emerging, because it's still everyone up for grabs with this long season ahead. And into the AMs, well, Bruce Jackson had a good opening round for Aerokinetics Purple. However, Dan Parmalee don't have him tonight, so he will remain on 86 points. And Andrew Moran, he is here, so needs to really have a good round. He's only 4 points behind Parmalee. And a great opportunity for him to really bank some points here today in the Belgium countryside, Charles.
Yeah, it was. There were really good battles at the end of the last round at Road Atlanta, especially between Delgado and Hewins at the end of the race. They were battling on the last lap, under a half second between the two cars before Delgado made a bit of a mistake. Going on to the backstretch, which is very easy to do there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing these guys go at it again today.
Now, another sub-note, just to make things a little bit more, well, interesting, a little bit more spice to the dish, if you will, is that in qualification, the top 8 are inverted for the race. So if you qualify on pole, you actually start in 8th. It's definitely a different format, Charles, to what we're normally used to, but it really does mix things up a little bit. And if you're an AM driver and you can sneak yourself inside that top 8, well, you're in a really good position to start from the front and really have a big haul of points potentially.
Yeah, because you know track position is very important. So if you can get up and run in the front of that field, you can get a nice tow off the cars in front, and you can potentially hold your position for quite a long distance into this race.
I've got some times on the board. Tapio leading the way in the Porsche 911, the car that's come a bit more back into favour within iRacing in recent times, and he's selected to go for the pits, go for another outlap, go again. Vos in second, Jackson third, Torres a little bit off the pace, 2 seconds behind Tapio's voice, but so that's a bit of a disappointing lap from the Puerto Rican. Porsche definitely dominating as Burton heads up into second. They're only that 10th and a half behind Tapio, with Clist also getting a time on the board too as well, and Oliveira just heading up into 4th. Well, as he's then instantly demoted as Delgado heads up into 3rd. But that does mean he will be starting from 6th on the grid. Had to do a quick bit of maths there. Good to see, well, the Americas countries, well represented, as well as having a plucky Brit in there in Clist, and also an Aussie as well in the form of Max Bully, a privateer.
Yeah, and good morning to him.
Yes.
So yeah, you wake up in the morning in wonderful Australia, where it's I believe springtime, and get up to do some racing with a bunch of Americans and some Brazilians and a Canadian and a Brit. So yeah, it's good on him for that.
Well, what better way to kickstart your Sunday than a bit of nice bit of league racing? As deep into qualifying now, 6 minutes 40 out of the 10 completed. Quite a few drivers yet to set times. They've had their times deleted. Well, roughly about a third of the field, Charles, are being caught out by the track limits that Spa is so notoriously easy to encroach on.
Yeah, there's a couple corners here that you think that you're within the limits, and then the next thing you know, you're not. So it's especially, we'll talk about corner names, but No Name is obviously, one of the ones that you just want to just hammer on the throttle. And as we see a spin, Porsche doing Porsche things through Pouhon. But yeah, so there's a couple corners out here that will catch you out because you just want to push and you can't. So you have to be very patient.
As well, Staropoli, the American, heading up into 4th then. It's not that midfield, that top 8. Not a bad shout, really, because you're not going to really lose that much places. Starting in 4th means you'll be demoted down to 5th. Not a great loss as Oliveira heads up into 6th. And we were talking earlier about those drivers sneaking inside the top 8. We've currently got Veniscus and Vos off by 7th and 8th, so they will in fact start on the front row as things stand at the moment. Those two incredibly close, only 600ths a second separating those two top drivers in the BMW and the Merc. Charles, if you had the choice of any car to drive around Spa at the moment, what would you pick?
Well, for me, I'm more of a front engine guy, so I'm going with the Mercedes. But you know, the Porsche seems to be the dominant car this season in iRacing. Most of the top drivers in the iRacing service are running the Porsche because it just seems to have the outright pace. But I saw Delgado last week almost win that race in the BMW. It's got such good straight line speed. And as we talked about prior to the race, it eats up the curbs really well. But the Merc has also been pretty good as well. I mean, it was kind of the standout car last season. So they've kind of iRacing's little internal BOP has kind of reset things a bit. But it's probably going to be I'm going to guess it's going to be a German car that wins this race. How about that?
Well, seeing as though we've only got 2 Ferraris in the race, Azaval and Moran piloting both of those, and the rest are all German. We've got 1 lone Audi in the form of Aaron Beaver, the AM driver, Aerokinetic Purple, as see one named Mercedes just heading into the pits there. Yeah, I think that's probably, if I was betting man, that's a safe bet, really, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, obviously we're looking at the board and you got 4 Porsches, top 4 spots, then you got 3 BMWs right behind them. So it's as they invert the field, so now you've got a Merc on the front row in the pole position.
Yeah, I saw Corey Gross just getting across the line there, but didn't set a time, unfortunately. Let's take you through your grid for round 2 of the ARL GT Americas from Spa Francorchamps. Brian Vos lines up on pole after qualifying in 8th. Of course, the top 8 were inverted. For the AMP driver, Veniscus starts alongside him on the front row. Second row is Oliveira with Delgado to an all-Brazilian row, followed up by an all-American row in Staropoli. And Smith on the 4th row of the grid is Burton and Tapio, who Tapio's setting the fastest time in qualification. JJ Lewis, he's got Bruce Jackson of the company, and that's 5th row, and running out your top 10. Torres has got Bereznak alongside him on the 6th row of the grid. 7th row is Asphalt and the Brit Clist. Daragato even, and Moran, they line up on the 8th row, with the 9th row being Spencer Hewins and Lucas Martin. The last complete row, and running out the top 20, it is Aaron Beaver with Corey Groves, with Max Bolly, the Aussie, starting in last in 21st. Well, if you're starting last, Charles, the only way is up.
That's correct. Yeah, you're in a good spot to make up positions. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the start of this race, obviously with cold tires at the start of this race, and 0.7 of a second gap for those guys that were running P8, or that are in P8 and P7 now after the inversion. The most tricky part of this is just trying to work your way through the field, and with 2 AMP cars on the front row, I think that even makes it more difficult.
Definitely, let's just wait for the last driver to take the grid. They don't have long. It's Lucas Martins. Maybe electing for a pit stop might be a safer option. We all know La Source is the source of all problems at times. Turn 1, it can be a bit calamitous, a bit treacherous, a bit tricky. Will it be today? Well, the Porsche 911 safety car pulling away here at Spa as always in GT's rolling start as we get ready to go racing on the short run down to the chicane. Of course, it used to be called the bus stop chicane. It used to resemble a bus stop, hence why it picked up that name. Site of a major accident all the way back in the iconic 1998 Formula One race, which was, well, an absolute downpour to say the least. But safety car is in. Force leads the way. We get ready to go racing here at Spa for the first time. It is green flag, it is go, and we are away. And down to turn one we come, and the Mercedes leads strongly, but they're stacking up behind. 2 wide, 3 wide, and they all fan out. And wow, they've all made it through safely. And all the dubiousness about whether they would make it through, would there be a big accident? They've all come through completely clean, spick and span, as we head up the hill, through a Rouge, across the crest of Radion, and down the Camel Straight, trying to get in the slipstream, winding up the car, trying to extract every single mile per hour, as we can see everyone trying to find that last inch of slipstream, and it's a two-way battle for the lead. The BMW Vaniscus, beautiful move round the outside on the entry, but he's still fighting, and there's contact with the Mercedes of Force, and off into the gravel goes the Brazilian, and he's going to lose tons of places, Charles.
Yeah, it was they did a good job of that point of trying to go too wide through there, and just eventually just ran out of room.
What a bit of further contact between the two Porsches there. Lewis had to run wide. That was with Burton, I believe. He had that slight little bit of a rubbing of the doors, but well, Delgado, another of the Brazilians in the BMWs, having a bit of an excursion off track. Another one running wide. That's Oliveira running in deep, and well, it's really mixing things up, and this is playing into the hands beautifully of Force. You can see that blue Mercedes is heading off into the distance. We haven't even completed one lap yet, as everyone's scrambling for position, still fighting away like mad, left, right, centre, trying to find every inch of track space they can to try and progress. But they need to get the best possible exit as we wind up to head out of Stavolo up towards the high-speed, high-octane Blanchimont. And are we going to see side-by-side action? Well, it's treacherous through here. That's the last thing you want to do. You lose a lot of pace, and Lewis just dipping back there, just tucking back in behind his fellow Porsche driver of Torres, who's just having a couple of blinks there. Always a little bit disturbing as onto the brakes. A couple of lockups there. One for the Ferrari, that's Asphalt. So Afzal even, and well, Tapio making progress, started in 8th, qualified on pole, already up into 5th, Charles.
Yeah, he's making good progress. He's taking his time and being patient, but he's taking the opportunities when they come, keeping the car clean, which is obviously paramount here because this is a high aero track. You need to make sure that car is as straight as possible. Whoop.
Charles, that was a little bit close for comfort, and this is going to stack up across the crest of Radion there, and wow, there's a flash of the lights going on for the Ferrari of Afzal, and you can understand why. And I think it was the 129 there of Burton. I think he picked up a slowdown and was just trying to burn it off and just couldn't get rid of it, and that was just causing, well, that absolute pile-up as the Ferrari and the BMW there. That's Vaniscus trying to recover and get back through the field, and able, that's going to end in a bit of tears, and well, you called it right earlier, Charles, when it was going to end up in tears for someone.
Yeah. Oh, let's see, you got a Porsche around. That looks like Hewins. Yep.
Yeah, it's Spencer Hewins having a bit of an excursion there in the Aerokinetics pink car. Not the best of starts for those two drivers, himself and Martin's losing places, 19th and 20th, currently respectively. Oh, there's a portion of BMW well off in the background there. I think Jackson is one of them, and Burton is the other. Well, I think there's been even a bigger incident because one of the Ferraris off, and there's a spinning BMW and a spinning Porsche in the background too.
Yeah, there's a lot of damaged cars at this point. I don't know how it started, but I saw at least 3 cars off the track.
Wow. Maybe this replay might give us some answers. Also, Jackson loses it by himself.
That's kind of,
wow.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting from the BMW. You don't normally see the BMW's rear come around like that. That's kind of interesting how that occurred. Maybe he just missed his turn-in point and tried to oversteer and just lost the rear that way.
Well, then it just caused a series of, well, a chain reaction of spins and collisions, because these cars, you know, once you're on a line, you can sort of move it around a little bit, but you do struggle, as you see Kliss there trying to get the best possible exit out of the chicane. And we've got a drag race down to La Source, but it's always a real challenge, isn't it? Because you come around the corner, if there's someone spinning right in front of you, then, well, you can end up in a whole world of pain, and that's what we saw. And right now, Force, after opening up a massive lead on the end of lap 1, is now under attack from Staropoli in the Porsche. He's round the outside. We've seen this work before. Round the outside into Lacombe. Can he get it done onto the brakes? The Aerokinetics driver desperately trying to keep his toe in, trying to keep his front end in there. But I tell you what, that Mercedes is absolutely on the money right now, and he's reclaimed that position, and he's backing up Staropoli into Smith and Delgado, who, well, to be fair, they're being joined by Tapio and Oliveira as well now. And what was, well, looking like Force heading off into the distance, really comfortable, is now turning into definitely a four-way fight, certainly I think pretty much a five-way fight, possibly even a six-way fight for the lead.
Yeah, you know, that's the, you know, the issue, or not the issue, but when you have a inverted grid like that, he was 7/10 slower than the fastest cars during quali. He got a good lead, but now that gap that they had on him as far as their overall pace is coming back and bringing them back into him. Ooh. And so he's doing a really good job, though, of maximizing that car and keeping it out front.
Well, a mistake from Staropoli there, the 193. He's dropped a position. Smith has had up seconds. We're on board with Yao Delgado up towards this absolutely iconic corner. It is Blanchimont. Let's see if he keeps it flat. Oh, a little bit of a feather on the entrance there just to balance the car. But who's going to be last of the late breakers? Here we go. Let's find out. Can the BMW get it stopped in time? And he's not quite going to do it. And I tell you what, that 1-2-3 Porsche from Tapio sails around the outside, and it looks like he's going to lose another place as well, as here comes Oliveira on the run down to La Source. He's on the inside, and I think he's going to claim that place as well. And Delgado, from going on the attack, has ended up losing 2 places.
Yeah, just too late on the brakes. The BMW has got really good brakes. You could see, obviously, the 3 Porsches in front having the feather even more than the BMW through Blanchimont. He was able to get a great run, but just couldn't get the car stopped in time.
Nice. Throwing out the anchors desperately, but, well, there's being able to brake really well, but there's only certain limitations on it as, well, ding ding, round 2 into Lacombe. We go a different line this time for a Porsche. It's Smith this time rather than Staropoli, and he gets it done. Well, Staropoli couldn't, and I tell you what, Staropoli, sensing the Force, is on the back foot after getting overtaken and having a bit of a lunge on the inside into Bruce Sells there and forcing the Mercedes wide. But I tell you what a fight back, and look at the Tapio. He's going to see the opportunistic move. He's going to try and squeeze his car through, and they're side by side out of no name. And Charles, I tell you what, someone's got to yield here.
Yeah, you can only get away with a couple of those side-by-sides in these corners. Eventually somebody's going to make a mistake, and you're going to end up taking both cars out.
I tell you, this top 6, they're like an accordion. They all come together, and then they expand out, and then they come back together again. It's an absolutely fascinating battle that we're currently experiencing for the lead right now here in Spa. And, well, so much action, so much drama and excitement, and we're only 8 minutes out of 1 hour, 60 minutes. I'm fascinated, I'm intrigued of what this race has in store, because if it carries on like this, well, I'm definitely going to need to lie down after this one, Charles. I don't know about you.
Well, I mean, it is what, 2 a.m. for you, so I can understand that. Yes. So, yeah, but you want to pace yourself, because we still have another 50 minutes of race to go.
Well, we do indeed. Well, it's up and down the field. It's happening. It's not just the battle for the lead. It's happening further down. There's the 2 Aerokinetics cars of Beaver and Martins. Sorry, no, it's a bit further back. I thought it was the 2 pink cars. It's Martins and Hewins. And I tell you what, they've both come from the back, because they were, not that long ago, 19th and 20th.
Well, yeah,
now they're currently finding themselves, what, up in 12th and 13th, respectively.
Yeah, Hewins did not have a good quali, and Martin Souza actually had he had to pit start for this race due to a penalty. So he actually started from way behind the rest of the grid in order to come out, and he's moving up the order in quite a hurry.
Well, that's Staropoli through, and I tell you what, the Porsche is working together there. They pull to the right-hand side of the Kemmel straight. Left Force and the Mercedes out to dry on the left-hand side. Well, they were quite spaced apart, but they would have picked up a bit of a distance tow, and that's what allowed Staropoli to just catapult himself, to get himself up into second. And well ahead of the braking zone for Lecombe, able to pull back onto the racing line, take the corner as he normally would, and that's him comfortably up into second. And well, Brian Vorst, the force definitely is not with him right now, and the AM drivers start to fall through the order, but it is against pro drivers, and the closest person to him in the AM category is Bereshnak, who's currently 9th overall right now, and what's some 12 odd seconds down the road from Vorst. So I mean, even though he's losing places, it's to no avail, and he's holding his own up there, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he's having a really good race so far. He's doing a good job. He's obviously got some pace in that Mercedes, and he's not making it easy for those guys to get around him.
You mentioned the Mercedes not quite as strong as what it was when it first came out. I think this is going to be another place he's going to lose. The Sapio up the inside. That's a bit of a high-risk move, and a bit of a twitch there from the Porsche. Well, a real tank slapper as here comes Oliveira on the brakes. Seeks an opportunity and can't quite get it stopped in time. Has to throw out the anchor, shoot across the left, and nearly loses the rear end coming off. And, well, in the end, he's gone from full attack mode to actually losing places. That's Delgado sneaking through up the inside and nicking a place away from him.
Yeah, Delgado was just obviously made a little bit of an error earlier, lost that spot, and now he's just kind of been patient and got the spot back.
So this is a replay of Moran in the Ferrari. What are we going to... Ooh, that's going to be the wall. Yeah, there we go. As soon as you saw that rear end go, Charles, you could just sense he was purchasing himself a one-way ticket to the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. That corner is so tricky, especially if you're trying to maximize your straight line speed. You maybe got a little too much wing out, so you have to be very careful. It looked like he just came through there full bore and couldn't hold it.
Well, I suppose that is one of the tricky things about Spa, isn't it? Do you set up the car for more straight line speed, or do you set it to be, you know, a little bit more aero in it, a bit more downforce, so that you're going to be brilliant in, well, pretty much the section they're in now. A lot of high-speed corners where that aero package on these GT3s will really come into its own.
Yeah, that's always the thing, right? And I think it really depends on how comfortable you are with the car and how comfortable you are driving that, driving this track. For me personally, I like it to have a little more wing. I like it to be a little better through the corners, and I'll sacrifice some straight line speed, especially if I'm in the pack and I can run and get that toe off the cars in front. But that's just me. Some guys, these Porsche guys, if they're used to driving that car, they're used to having that rear end on the edge anyway. So yeah, take the wing out of it and let it fly.
That's definitely one way of looking at it, isn't it? I mean, for me, I always find it a bit of a tricky conundrum. Wow, is that I tell you what, the BMWs are definitely getting loose and Larry. Not something you tend to see from them.
Yeah, it's really weird. You don't see the rear ends coming out of the BMWs because they are front engine. Usually that front kind of dictates where the car is going to go, and so you don't normally see the rear end stepping out like that.
So that is, yes, it was. I thought that Beaver and the Audi there, of Aerokinetics Pink, just losing a place to his teammate Spencer Hewins in the Porsche. But those two sort of working together to pull. It was Lucas Martins even, not Spencer Hewins, to setting through there. And I tell you what, those two Aerokinetics Pinks cars working together very nicely. They did have their work cut out for the back of the field. The two pro drivers sitting 8th and 9th in class at the moment, respectively, as that's a Mercedes round, and that is the Aussie Max Bully. Oh, that's not looking good for him. As yeah, just lost the place to Kliss too, so that's a little bit of a rotation there. But Thomas Berezhnak, well, I thought that was going to be a bit optimistic and had to back out of it, and in doing so, it's backed him right into Martins and the fellow Mercedes, who's, I get a feeling it's going to be a lunge down to Bruxelles, or maybe not. Oh, I tell you what, he's kept his nose in there.
Yeah, he took that corner very tight and made a nice move.
That was a beautiful little move to slot it up the inside there. I thought it was completely and utterly gone, that move, and I was about to, you know, contradict myself and back out of what I was about to say, and then all of a sudden a lunge on the brakes from Martins. Through he goes and off he sails up the road, and I'll tell you what, he's opened up 8/10 of a gap already, and that's only 2 corners later. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's yeah, you know, it's I guess pro versus am. He's probably just got a little more pace than the guys that he just passed, and so but he made a good, clean, safe pass, and that's the important thing, right? Is we want to, you know, promote, you know, good, clean racing here, and we want to applaud it when we see it.
As we are quarter race distance, this is your battle for the lead. Smith leading right now from Staropoli. Tapia, you can see him just in the distance. There's a Porsche 1, 2, 3 right now. Force, leader in AM, 4th overall in the Mercedes, and the highest Mercedes in the field to boot. Delgado, highest BMW, 5th overall, 4th in class. Then it's Lewis, Oliveira, Torres, Hewins. Martin's going to round out your top 10, and then it's 2nd place in the AMS. Berezhnak, Beaver, Vaniscus, Groves, Jackson, Dragata, Kliss, Bully, Moran, and then was, well, looking like they're out. Asphalt in the Ferrari, and Burton in the Porsche. But there's a banging doors down the Kemmel Straight as the drag race is in tow, and Force, well, in the end, does he yield because he keeps his toe back, and then he's been tagged, and around he goes, and I'm not sure about that, and this is going to be dangerous for Force, because I think he's going to lead lose the leading class, because Berezhnak is eating into that lead, and he's also got damage just to, well, add insult to injury there.
Yeah, that was pretty bad, and I couldn't see from that camera angle that we had, but my guess is they went too wide. He got kind of a little bit of a lead and maybe cut that second part of the chicane a little too much. And just basically just cut off Delgado or Oliveira. Sorry. So yeah, you know, that's the nature of those 2 wide battles through the chicane. Is you have to maintain your line all the way through the chicane. So if you're on the right side, you have to stay on the right side throughout the entire thing. Even if you think you're clear, as you saw. Looked like he might have got clear and then made the cut in, but also probably slowed down maybe a touch, and then got hit in the rear, got sent to the wall.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's lost a ton of places, and not only has he lost the lead in AM, but also he has lost, well, as we've seen, what's the change from the lead in AM there? That's Beaver heading past Berezhnak, but Vorsall, yeah. Well, he's limping that car home, isn't he? Back to the pits. Well, I was about to say, he's not even the lead gone, but also a place on the podium in AM, and well, it's now looking like potentially even finishing at the back of the field in what looked to be like an absolutely stunning result for him. So this is the replay. So they're down the Kemmel Straight, and you can see it's just behind, but then the BMW runs in a bit too deep, tries to correct it, and well, he cut back across the front of him, I think.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what happened. I think he just cut in too deep for the second part of the chicane and wasn't clear of the car that he was battling.
Did my eyes deceive me there? Did I see a bit of bump drafting going on between the 2 Aerokinetics Porsches down the Kemmel Straight?
It wouldn't surprise me if there's a little bump drafting going on. I mean, this is not the NASCAR series, but I think these guys can do it okay too, especially on a long straightaway like that, uphill.
I says they're trying to get out the clutches of Chris Tapia of RPM Racing because, well, set a real benchmark, qualifying, stuck it on pole. Of course, had to start from 80 to the top 8, being inverted. came through the field like, you know, the perennial hot knife through butter. And I think it's a bit of a tactic there just to try and ensure that they keep well away from him and don't get him absorbed into the battle for the lead as they're approaching 1/3 race distance already. Where has the last 20 minutes of racing gone? And there's still no let-up whatsoever as this little clusters up and down the field right now, Charles. It's so hard to know where to look.
Yeah, it really is. You got to, battle in the top two, then a gap. P3's kind of on his own, and then you've got a big group from P4 to P7, and then a big gap back to 8th. And so 8th and 9th are running together. I think we talked about that, where there might be some, they might be doing some bump drafting. As we say, 2's faster than 1. So, yeah, go for that. Just don't do it in the corners, as we always say on the NASCAR series.
Yes.
So yeah, it's there's still battles all over the track for positions, and still 40 minutes left of the race. We'll be coming up on pit stops here in the next, say 10 to 15 minutes or so. Somebody may try and jump early, and maybe get an undercut working, but we'll see how that all plays out.
So there we go. That is, well, is it a change for second in as Viniscas in the BMW heads past Floreshnak, who it's been sitting comfortably second in class, obviously, until we saw that, big incident for Vors, which cost him the lead. And Beaver is, well, he's headed off into the distance in the Audi at top of Am, but Viniscas well ahead, and Brezhnak started strongly, but he's sort of, as he's entered into that mid-race pace, seems to be just dropping through the order a little bit right now and seems to be struggling. Do you think he's taken too much out of his tyres, or what do you think it is, Charles?
I'm looking at the car to try and see if maybe he has some aero damage. Something didn't look right, and maybe it's just the paint scheme, but maybe he's had a couple of bumps here and there that may have the car a little bit off the pace, or it could just be the car's not as comfortable on light fuel. Maybe once he gets some more fuel in the car, it'll settle back in, and the balance will return to it. But it's just like I said, it's still quite a ways to go yet. Another 38 minutes, so we'll see how this all plays out.
Well, while you were speaking there, Charles, I fancy these brilliant camera angles that our producer John Robson is bringing to us right now. I've been having a squinting and real good close look at that Mercedes Brezhnak, and I can't spot any apparent damage on it, unless he's given one of the curbs a bit of a clatter and there's some, a bit of floor damage maybe, and that's what could be costing his time. I'm really speculating right now, but I'll tell you what's really good to see is in Am, 3 different manufacturers on the podium: Audi, BMW, Mercedes. This is why we love GT racing, and just the variety, the depth, and anything can happen on a day.
Absolutely. And to see Audi up on the top step of the podium for the class is different. You don't normally see that. The Audis are not known for not necessarily known for their top end speed. They're really good handling cars, but they're also very tricky cars, and they have to be set up properly in order to run at maximum pace.
It's. I think that's why quite a few people maybe shy away from them cars, especially in the lower iRacing, so lower abilities, maybe from newer to iRacing, because they are tricky to drive. They're very pointy, aren't they?
They really are. Like I said, they handle, especially in the medium and high speed corners, handle really well. But they don't necessarily have the same top end pace as the Porsches or the BMWs. But they make up for that is just their ability to corner, and they can keep pace pretty well that way. This track probably not necessarily suited to them being at the top, which is why I'm kind of shocked, but he's done a really good job. And if you're, as we've seen, if you're comfortable with a particular make of car and you drive it a lot, you will inherently get better because you understand how that car drives. And so it becomes more predictable to you. So you know what the car is going to do when you give it a certain input.
As you see Lewis there heading up this train for 4th place. Delgado and Oliveira not far behind right now, as he's just starting to settle down a little bit on the mid-race pace. Saying that though, Eric Staropoli even took the fastest lap of the race last time around, and the first driver to dip into the 2-minute 15s, only just by 1/100th of a second, but he got it in there. Bragging rights to him. This time's only going to come down as the fuel starts to burn off a bit in Spa. Lewis nearly lost the rear end there. He seemed to lock up a little bit on the entrance into the chicane.
Yeah, I was actually looking at timing and scoring because I did see that fast lap by Staropoli, but I was looking at Hewins and Martins, particularly in P8 and P9. The gap from them to the leader hasn't really changed much, maybe a tenth or two.
Oh, that's a Ferrari around there. I just caught in the background.
Yep.
Oh, wow. And Rishna nearly collecting on the way through. That must... Well, no, it's Afzal. That's who it was. And he's managed to come back out of the pits despite having, being 4 laps down and just making his way through. Let's take a little look. Now, there's a bit of a bump. It always catches me out here. Just about here right now when you're going to get onto the accelerator, and it's so easy to lose the rear end. And there you go.
Just a little too hot on that loud pedal. So yep, happens a lot. See it all the time. I try not to get killed by it, or try not to kill anybody else.
Charles, this is for the lead in AM, and that is Viniscus. Oh, he's across. That's going to be a slowdown, and that's going to cost him. And surely the Audi of Beaver's going to reclaim it. So he blinks out a little bit there, but wow, I think that could be a saving grace. As surely Viniscus has got to burn off this one, because as much as he's trying to clean hold the lead and probably trying to get back ahead of Beaver to back him up a bit, well, this is dicing with death here for me, and something not what I would be too confident on doing.
No, if he did get a slowdown, and I do see there's a little bit of damage on the right side of that car. If he did get a slowdown, he does need to, obviously, he's got to burn it off or he's going to get black flagged. But yeah, passing the guy and repassing the guy to get the spot back is probably not the smart way to do it. You don't want to back the guy up that way.
Well, but he can't surely, Charles. Just looking at this here, the pace that he's carrying on at, he can't have got one.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't know how he's got away with that one, because if that was me, I'd have about a 50-second penalty, especially if I was trying to carry on and trying to burn it off a bit. It would have just been exponential and grown massively as they were battling ensuing between 2 BMWs here of Groves and Jackson. Jackson on the right-hand side of the track and has to tuck back in behind that lovely orange livery BMW of Groves, the Canadian, just about holding on. I tell you what, the front end. Oh, there's a lot of smoke there. Oh, that's a. Yes, it is. That's Afzal off onto the grass there. Oh,
all right, so I do see Briznak is in the pits.
Yes, I was just thinking. Oh, so he had an incident somewhere, but of course, due to Spa's limits, he just showed like he's crashed when. You tend to get that occasionally when enter the pits, and Afzal into the pits as well. Again, not the best of evenings for him. He's going to be looking forward to getting over this round and on to the next one. But I'll tell you what, these two at it once again are Groves and Jackson. The battle for the last place on the podium in AM right now, and that Aerokinetics purple BMW of Jackson right round the outside, carrying the speed. I tell you what, he's doing a brilliant job. So the front end of that BMW M4 GT3 is a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, little unapproved aero mods on the front of that car. But
tape hasn't sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. But he obviously still got pace in it because he just made that pass, and it looks like he's trying to pull away from Groves. So he's doing a great job.
To be fair, he is actually doing it. I mean, he's already opened out it's just, well, I was just about to say, thinking it's just about to click over, but it's a strong 9/10 of a second already. I mean, this is a man on the move right now. He's got himself in the podium positions in AM and definitely looking to push on. I mean, it's going to take something absolutely, wow, biblical to catch up with Veniscus and Beaver, because they are, what, 20-odd second, less than that, aren't they? About 16 seconds up the road.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough mountain to climb. But what I was saying earlier about Martins and Hewins, as we see Torres coming into the pits, is their lap times, their pace is equal to the leader, but they're actually faster than several of the cars in front of them. So they're actually making up the gap that was Torres and Oliveira and Delgado. So they're actually making up ground on them. So they might have something to say at the end of this race, at least to challenge for maybe a podium.
Well, I do worry about Torres because he's pitted early, which I can understand, but he's going to come out behind. Oh no, he's going to come out just in front of Jackson, I think. Yeah, I'll get away with that one. Didn't want to be stuck behind those two battling cars of Jackson and Groves. But actually, yeah, he's actually timed this one perfectly. I was a bit worried he's going to come out back out in traffic, which might hamper his progress, but he's timed that one perfectly. And, well, one of the best ways to time your pit stops perfectly is with SDK Gaming, one of the most accurate live timing available on iRacing. You also utilise it to broadcast your leagues, like we do for all of our broadcasts here at Apex Racing TV, to sync up your commentators with your producers, to show exactly the same cameras, but also to utilise it to adjust your strategy on the fly. Always good around the endurance races on the best fuel calculators within iRacing. See exactly where you're at on the fly. Find out more about them by SDKGaming.com. They also have a 14-day free trial as well to boot, while we're checking them out. Yes, well, these guys have, it's like they've almost settled for now. These guys, Luis Delgado and Oliveira, because they've remained pretty much stagnant with these gaps for, I'd say, probably the last good quarter of an hour at least, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're just basically, they see the guys in front. They're not really making up much ground on them, so they're just saying, all right, let's just stay in line and ride, and then we'll see what happens once we get through the pits. Maybe somebody makes a mistake. You never can tell when you're going to get that 40-second slowdown for being too fast entering, and just see what happens. But yeah, they're in kind of this spot where they're not really don't have the pace to make up the ground on the guys in front. And then they're fast enough that the guys behind aren't really catching them in a really great hurry. So they're just trying to not slow each other down. So they're just kind of riding around and staying in line.
Well, that is one of your top two who've been battling all race long into the pits. That is Beaver in the Audi. Also into the pit lane comes Jackson and Groves together. Now that is an interesting one. They're going to come back out again with each other and continue on their fight that they've been having for most of the races. I tell you what, the fast repair coming in there from Jackson. So the front end just popped back out. And Groves, I look like me, he was a little bit slower in getting into his pit box as Beaver heads out. He's going to come out well in front of these two. And, well, Force making up a few places. Likewise, Brezhnak and most of the Mercedes drivers, but they are yet to pit, so that's a little bit of a false one as Jackson and Groves both head out of the pits. But I think Jackson's probably going to gain a bit more time here over Groves because, well, this is going to really show it. Yeah, Groves is still heading down the pit lane, and, wow, that's definitely cost him some additional time when they came in. They're around about, I want to say about a second and a half, the gap between those two. Wow, that's a big old difference. I mean, stationary time, Jackson was stationary for 5 seconds less, Charles, than what Groves was. Wow, that's a lovely move at the inside there from Vorson and Brezhnak. Yeah,
that's what I was looking at also. So 5 seconds quicker, so it means he probably took less fuel. So maybe that's, we'll just see how the fuel strats play out. So maybe he thinks that he's going to be okay, taking a little less than than Groves did.
I think the pit window's open.
I think you're right. I think everybody's coming in to get some fuel. Probably going to be fuel only for most of these guys, if not all. The tires will last for the hour. They're not going to be great at the end, but they'll last.
Well, we have got nice cool track temperatures as Staropoli, wow, getting the jump on pretty much everyone. Tapio is going to come out in second. That's a great one. Smith having a really slow stop. He was stationary for 4 seconds longer than everyone else, and that's cost him the lead. He's down to third, and where him and Staropoli were working together and pushing on to get away from Tapio, that's now been all undone as the Canadian up into second. Well, a great pit stop there for, well, I mean, actually looking at it, a pretty standard one for Staropoli and Tapio. Smith lost a big amount of time there. And you're saying about, Charles, those tyres lasting. Track temperatures here today in Spa, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 Celsius. They're lovely and cool. These tyres are going to look after themselves.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's not going to be a problem. So I'm just curious. I think a lot of the BMWs were quicker on their stops than most of the other cars. So maybe they've got a fuel mileage advantage and it can take less fuel on these pit stops. So maybe that helps them out. Maybe that kind of is an equalizer to the pace that the Porsches run as that car.
Wow.
Tapio way wide.
I think he needs to get his passport out. He's that far off the track there, Charles.
Absolutely. I think he was in the Netherlands there for a few minutes.
Definitely, but I'll tell you what, he's just about managed to keep ahead of Smith by some, well, I'm not sure how he's managed to do it. He kept his foot absolutely buried into the floor. That has allowed the 1-2-3 Porsche of RPM Racing, Tapio, to stay in second for now. But I'll tell you what, Zane Smith, he's in full attack mode. He can sense that someone's maybe feeling the effects, a little bit wounded, and like a lion stalking his prey. He's going to be absolutely all over him over these next few corners.
Oh, yes, he is. You know, anytime you get when you're that wide, you kind of lose your rhythm of the race. And it takes a few corners, maybe even a lap to get that back. So he's going to be pushing for everything to try and rattle Tapio even more. My good friend Paul Busby, who's a GT3 driver himself, he employs something called the mind pad, where he basically just sits right on their tail and forces them into making a mistake. Speak Fernando Alonso, as in the Fernando Alonso in a GT race at Laguna Seca, but more about that later. As Smith, well, he's got the run through Eau Rouge, through Stavelot, down the Kemmel straight. Can he get it stopped in time? In to the corner, and he's done it, Charles. What a move around the outside. Yeah, and he took it wide. I took it on the outside, broke way late, stayed in the far left lane. Didn't cross back over, so a very clean pass and a very brave pass, because that is difficult to do with a Porsche.
Well, what a move into Lacombe. Oh wow! I mean, well, it's moments like that. It just reinforces why we come sim racing, because I tell you what, the cars aren't real, but the driving and racing most certainly is. And what a move by Smith. It looked like he'd done all of his hard work in the round of pit stops, but got ahead, and, well, that is Jackson out dragging the Mercedes there of Brezhinac. And, well, I tell you what, he's had that damage fixed. He got past Groves as well. You can see the raw pace that he had being a week. He passed and cleared Groves with relative ease, and off into the distance he went. And I tell you what, he's eating Brezhinac for breakfast. The Mercedes are really struggling this latter part of the race.
They really are, and it's a bit strange to see. They're usually, like I said, obviously last season they were the top car in the class. Not so much this season, but they're still very, very good. And so I'm not really sure what's going on with that
it's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Because I'm just had a bit of a look. Track temperatures haven't gone up, so it's not like we've suddenly leapt up in track temperatures at all. And I mean, yes, we are. You know, we're early in the morning, 10 o'clock local time here in Spa right now, but there's nothing drastic. And you know, where you were saying earlier about maybe it's a case of the cars not really liking being on low fuel. They've all just come into the pits, so they're all fueled up once again with the perennial motion lotion, and they're still struggling once again. I think they've taken too much out of their tyres early on from pushing so hard.
It is very possible. I think I don't remember seeing Brezhnak having any spins or anything like that that would damage the tires. Like I said, the car looks pretty clean, so don't see any issues as far as him being in contact with anybody. So it may just be that either Jackson's just really got that BMW really tuned in, and he's just faster than Brezhnak, which is always possible. Or Brezhnak is maybe just having problems later in the race. But I'm going to bet, based on the fact that Groves came out of the pits 5 seconds behind Jackson. He's now 18 seconds behind Jackson. I won't attribute all that to Jackson being that much faster. My guess is Groves had a problem somewhere, maybe off track or something like that. But obviously has really extended his lead over the cars behind. He's already put almost 2 seconds on the car that just passed.
A bit further up the field. Well, yeah. They still remain. Well, I was going to say they've remained pretty static, but I tell you what, Lewis and Oliveira, they seem to have opened up a little bit of a gap now to Delgado, who's just fallen off the back of them that little bit. He's about half to 3/4 of a second to them, and I suppose this is one of the bit of the dangers, isn't it? Because he's fallen out of slipstream range, and do you think these two are just going to pull each other along and further up the field?
I think that's going to make it difficult for him to come back. But what I saw out of here's Tapio.
Now that is Smith ahead of him. Oh, and Smith's running too deep.
Yep, and he just cuts under and makes the pass. Great move.
Thank you very much. I'll have that place from you, Zane Smith, and Chris Tapio. Now back up into second, and it is game on in that battle for second place. Staropoli he's checked out. He's off into the distance, 6 second clear of these guys. There is your leader.
Yeah, he's just driving a great race, still setting the pace for all the cars on the track. What I will say about Lewis, Oliveira, and Delgado last week, it seemed like the last 10 minutes of the fuel stint, his car really came to life. So I'll be interested to see if that happens again this week. He was really fast on low fuel. So I don't know if it's going to equate here at Spa, but last week down the backstretch 2 weeks ago down the backstretch at Road Atlanta, he was just absolutely tearing the track up.
Have you ever noticed with Road Atlanta, the way the track outline of it looks like an elephant's head?
It is kind of interesting, isn't it?
Oh, wow, the Porsche there of Torres sideways through Pouon. Oh, and he's lost it.
I'm going to say, without even looking at the replay, that is just Porsche doing Porsche things. The lift off oversteer as you go into Pouon is very difficult.
Well, I thought he managed to catch it because he sort of caught it, got on the power. He was losing it again, caught it, got on the power again, and round it went. That was it. It just went, no, you've had 2 saves. That's enough. 3 times. That's too many. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to go in the wall.
Yeah. He fought it. He fought it down to the very end, and so now he's got wings messed up, rear ends messed up. So that's going to make that car even more fun to drive for the rest of the race.
Well, luckily, he's only got around about 15 minutes left to go, quarter of the race remaining. Starbow leader Tapio Smith, currently opponent sisters 1, 2, 3 for Porsche right now, but it's the RPM amongst the two Aerokinetics cars. Lewis 4th, Oliveira 5th, top of the BMW. Oliveira, likewise his fellow Delta Racing and BMW driver Delgado behind him in 6th. Hewins, the Canadian, in 7th, and top Mercedes runner, that's Lucas Martins, the Brazilian, in 8th, up an incredible 10 places. Actually, so is Spencer Hewins. These two Aerokinetics Pints cars been working their way through the field very nicely. Fernando Torres, well, he was a bit higher up, but now he finds himself in 9th after losing the rear end one too many times through Puon. So there is your leader in. And right now, Viniscus, and he's going to round out your top 10. Then it's Beaver in the Audi in 11th with Brian Vos. Wow, that's a bit of a recovery and a bit of a comeback for the books. He did stop on lap 8, Charles. I get the feeling that's wow, contact, banging doors, and they're going to come together again. Oh, no. Well, hold on a minute. Delgado says, thank you very much. While you two are glued together, I'll have those 2 places off you. The Brazilian of Delta Racing in the BMW sneaks past while they were preoccupied with themselves, and Lewis and Oliveira, well, they've lost a place each.
Yeah, they have, and it's just, I mean, it's hard racing, but, you know, once that first contact made, it's kind of like there's magnets in the cars at that point, and they just want to stay together until somebody eventually completely wrecks the car. They've done good to keep the pace and not put it in the wall. So
that's Smith.
Wow.
I thought I heard a bang and a crunch somewhere. I'm guessing that must have been Smith, and well, any chance of picking up second today, that is done and dusted and gone. So he was battling with Tapio. He tries to get around the outside. And where is he going to lose it? Oh, there was contact. There you go. Yeah. That's the bang I heard.
Yep, that's what you heard. And that's very similar to Lacombe at the top of the straight. It just looked like it was a crossover in the middle of the chicane that caused the contact.
Oh, is that him limping home there? Yeah, it is. Oh, there must be terminal damage there. I'd tell you what, that front left, I think that's got a bit too much camber in there for my liking. I think there might be front left suspension damage potentially, or something, because, well, I mean, unless he hasn't come off track, so it's not like he's picked up a penalty.
Maybe a slowdown up the hill. May have got a slowdown coming through Radion and had to serve it, so he was off to the side, just trying to get it cleared.
A battle for second. He's now down to 7th. So this is on board from Smith's point of view. Got squeezed a little bit, but nothing too aggressive. Tried to keep it in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm amazed, Charles. I'm dumbfounded. Tapio just carried on, didn't even flinch. No twitch from his car, and off he went up the road. Like nothing had happened whatsoever.
Which is a little strange. It's usually when there's contact like that, both cars are probably gonna lose traction and spin. But yeah, he took a little bump and just kept going, and then Smith was the worst for wear. As we see him coming through here, is he gonna go wide?
Oh, he missed it.
I'm assuming there's a slowdown. I didn't see it. I didn't see where he was wide through there, but it definitely looks like he was trying to burn a slowdown off there. And now he's coming into the pits. So.
Well, it was a dramatic burning off. I mean, normally you just coast down to about, 5th, or, just coast down the Kemmel Straight, but he full on got out of it there. That was a bit of a strange one. Now, all while we were keeping an eye on that one and how that all unfolded, so I'm guessing he's going to utilise his fast repair. Yes.
Yeah.
Lewis is ahead of Oliveira and Delgado.
That's interesting. Delgado's actually behind again. So I'm not sure how that happens, but so it looks like they're going to try it again. They didn't have enough the first time, so they're going to keep fighting.
Well, I tell you what, Charles, it's more on the line now because this has now turned into a place on the podium. Smith's still stationary in his pit box. I'm half wondering whether he might be retiring that car. We'll keep an eye on that one. No, he's out again. He's out again, but he has been stopped for 45 seconds, which is an odd one because I'm guessing he must have put new tyres on. That's the explanation for that one.
I think that's right. Yep.
Absolutely gutting for Smith because that looked like
what a great race he was having.
Well, yeah, I mean, he looked like a second place. I know he, lost out in the pit stops as well. Could have even been fighting for the win if he hadn't have had additional time in the pit stops. He stationed for about an extra 4 seconds compared to Staropoli and Tapio, which then obviously backed him into Tapio. But well, on that contact just put ruin to his race, and he's going to finish well in the midfield are the AM drivers, and they've all calmed down and stopped battling with one another, which is a bit of a surprise because Vinicius and Beaver were having a great fight early on. But we've got this battle to keep ourselves preoccupied with Luis Oliveira, Delgado,
and Hewins, who is now one second behind Delgado. So
great
last week's
spot there, Charles.
Yeah, last week's race winner has managed to, because of the slow. Because of the battles they've been having, is able to creep up and is now tucked in behind Delgado, the two P1 and P2 from the last race at Road Atlanta. So that they put on a show last race, so let's see if they'll put on another show for us tonight.
So Canadians are stereotypically, meek, mild, and apologetic, nation. But I'll tell you what, Hewins will not be sorry if he manages to nick third place off of these three.
Oh, absolutely not. No, he would absolutely. He would probably say sorry, but he would still take the prize winnings there for P3.
Definitely. I'll tell you what. I've just now we've cut to him, Staropoli. Well, there you go. He's lost 4.5 seconds on lap 21. Look at that. That's because I thought he was about 6 or 7 seconds ahead of Tapio, and you can see he's they've been matching each other's lap times, there or thereabouts, but he lost a big old chunk of time there. Yeah,
I wonder if he just it's kind of interesting. Maybe he just went wide and.
Well, you say that. I'm having a bit of a look back through sort of event log, which shows. When the drivers come off track, and it does show that Eric Staropoli in the Porsche for Air Kinetics has come off track, and I mean that's going to be a big old off. Maybe a bit of an excursion into the kitty litter. Maybe there's that I can see anyway, Charles. There's no apparent damage to that car, so he hasn't put it in the wall.
No, I don't see anything. So maybe. You start looking, we're talking about the Porsche, start looking at the braking zones, maybe the top of the hill, where he just ran deep and just decided he would just go take the escape route. There's a little escape road that runs up the hill and around.
That's Delgado.
And that's the end of the race for him, as far as challenging for any major points. That car is beat.
Well, he's got the windscreen wipers on for good measure as well. That's not going to help himself whatsoever, Delgado. This is how it happened. Well, he's on the inside. Okay, all looks relative. Oh, he bumped the curb. He caught the curb there, Charles.
Yeah, it's just that is such a tricky corner, Blanchimont. You have to be just inch perfect coming through there. You're too late on the apex, and you're off in the runoff area. You come in too tight, and you're into that curve, which kind of kicks you around. Destabilizes the car at high speed, and then you end up having to rebuild your front end.
He was trying to find a bit of a late apex there. Watch the late apex show on Mondays on Apex Racing TV for the latest sim racing news. Got to get a plug in there, Charles. Got to get a plug in there somewhere.
I mean, hey, your segues are brilliant tonight, by the way. I just want to say.
They are. You know, I'm not doing too bad for 10 past 3 in the morning in the UK. Plenty of coffee, that's what's helping me get through this one. And the great action out of track. Well, we've only got 5.5 minutes left. I don't know where 54 minutes and 30 seconds has quite gone. It's disappeared in the blink of an eye because we've had some amazing racing here. Lewis and Oliveira, they're closing up in that battle for the last podium position overall. Can we see a BMW beat off the Porsches? I'm thinking back to, I mean, with Staropoli, I know back in the, I'm testing my motorsport knowledge now. I want to say 80s Porsche, if that is a rally car. You have to, now Staropoli had such a large lead. Maybe he was just trying to invoke a bit of the, you know, spirit of Porsche 911 old and a bit of rallying across the gravel. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of, and Tapio is still pulling tenths out. It's going to be tough. That was a really good 3 tenths gained on that lap.
Do you think it's too little too late, though? I mean, the gap has grown 3 seconds.
I'm wondering maybe if Staropoli is kind of backed off a bit. Maybe that off has kind of made him a little gun-shy to push the car. And so we'll see. It's just one of those that you don't know. It's if he's either going to have to get back on it to stay in front, or Tapio's going to make it very, very interesting in the last couple of laps.
Well, it looks like Delgado has retired his car. He joins Bully, who we lost on lap 11, as Afzal, who we lost on lap 8, and Burton, who we lost all the way back on lap 3, currently on lap 24 here at Spa. There is your leader in. It is Viniscus, and well, he's got a pro driver to be in the form of Torres, and also to boot a good 15-second advantage over Beaver. I mean, considering Viniscus and Beaver were battling away like mad for the lead, Beaver actually had the lead for a bit of a while as well. Viniscus has opened up a very healthy advantage. He's been quietly going about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. He just kept his eyes forward and just kept running his laps, and just has stretched the gap. And he's looking, you know, he is, I'm looking at timing and scoring here, about half a second to a second a lap faster every lap. So maybe the Audi's tires may be going at this point. I don't think it's really known for really good tire wear, even with low temps, especially when you're really trying to maximize your corner speeds. Then, I mean, you're probably putting a lot of work through those tires on that Audi.
I think they're definitely going to be ready for the bin, but we're seeing a battle here. This is over 4th in class in 12th overall. Brezhnak versus Vos, 2 drivers who, well, without being disrespectful to them, I think they quite possibly thrown away really good results, as you see new fastest laps while being exchanged there between Lewis and Oliveira. That's 2 drivers pushing it to the absolute max as heading to the latter stages of the race. And I tell you what, these are another 2 that are really pushing each other to the max.
Yeah, they really are. It's just two Mercs battling for that position on track, and just trying to get it maximum points out of this race. I will tell you what's interesting, though. I looked. Tapio's last lap was about 6 tenths slower than Staropoli. But Staropoli did a 2:15.9. Lewis, Oliveira, and Hewins did a 15, 79, 75, and 88. So they are absolutely hauling the mail at this point.
They're definitely all pushing each other along, aren't they? And I'm trying to... This is a tough one of, oh, that was nearly onto the grass there by Vos, having a bit of a look up the inside. I see some aggressive moves, just feeling out Brezhnak right now in these latter stages of the race. Well, we've got a minute left. Where are our leaders, Staropoli? Ooh, now, Charles, I don't know about you, but I think he's going to make it around across the line to do one more lap, but it's gonna be tight, this. It's going to be very tight.
It's going to be very tight.
I mean, it's one of those. Does he back out of it to try and take the checkered flag this time around? He's got 3.5 seconds in the bag over Tapio.
Well,
he's going to do it, I think, because I think he's going to come across the line before the clock runs out, because the finish line here at Spa is right on the exit of the chicane. Oh yeah, he's got 15 seconds in the bag. There we go, white flag in the air. One more lap left to go here in round 2 of the ARL GT Americas League.
Well, he was kind of in a box because, you know, Tapio is still 3.2 behind, so he couldn't really bleed the time off coming down to the start-finish line without potentially losing a position, or at least re-engaging that battle for the position.
While we've been just watching Sarapoli, just keep you up to date, Force has made it past Brezhnak at the battle for 4th in class right now, 12th overall between those two Mercedes, having a real good go. But for me, Charles, the killer one is we're still going to get one more lap for Lewis and Oliveira to decide who's going to get that last podium place. Or, I mean, Hewins has dropped back a little bit now. He's about 3 seconds behind them, so I think he's out. This is a straight dogfight now between Lewis and Oliveira. Porsche versus BMW. Flat 2 6-cylinder engines. Who's going to come out on top? What do you think, Charles?
I don't know, but I'm going to throw another wrinkle into that. Oliveira's pit stop was 1.4 seconds less than Lewis's. So does he have enough fuel to go another lap?
Ooh, a good question. Or is he timed it just right? And actually, he's got a lighter car, so we're going to see. But realistically, he needs to get everything absolutely perfect, because his one and only opportunity is going to be a lunge into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, so he's got basically 2 shots at it. Coming down here, he's going to get one chance in the bus stop using those BMW brakes to try and stop the car. And then on the final lap, he's got the run up the hill into Lacoon. And is he going to be able to take the inside line? Is Lewis going to block? And then you've got one more shot at it through the bus stop. So, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I take that back. We're on the last lap. My bad.
We are, yeah.
Very sorry about that. I don't know where that lap went to. I'm sorry about that. That's horrible.
No, it's fine. Honestly, we've had such a great time. It's great racing. Starapoli wins. Tapio picks up 2nd. And I tell you what, Lewis has just done enough. Well, there you go. Yep. Oliveira, I didn't think he was going to, I mean, he was trying. He was throwing absolutely everything at it. The kitchen sink, you name it. It was getting thrown at it. But Lewis had an answer for absolutely everything. And in the end, just couldn't make up enough time to get close enough. And, wow, Lewis picks up that last podium place to make it a whitewash for Porsche in Pro category. There is your winner in Vaniscus in the BMW. Looks like Beaver's going to pick up, or we're going to have a bit of a wait of 18 seconds for him. There's Torres across the line in 8th. Yeah, a bit of a wait for the Audi. There he comes across the line. That's singing V10 in the middle of the car that it possesses. And Jackson is going to pick up the last podium place. One of the few drivers to actually finish where he started. Astounding, really. Beaver up an incredible 10 places. Only eclipsed by Hewins and Martins. He finished 5th and 6th respectively. Up an incredible 12.
Wow. Yeah, the Hewins and Martins ran a great race. They kept their cars clean, started in the back, and just took their time and worked their way up. Obviously, they had really good pace in their cars. I think they did a lot of working together. I think the team effort definitely helped them get those spots.
There was definitely a lot of working together by the aerokinetics outfits today.
Yeah, it was good to see. It was good team strategy. I think we talked about them at some point in time during the race, maybe doing bump drafting up the straight. So I was curious because I knew that Martins had the pit start because of the penalty, and I was really curious because Hewins who won the first race started way in the back. So maybe there was some strategy even as far as the beginning of the race that they just said, hey, you know what? We're going to start in the back. We're going to work together. We're going to work our way up. And if so, that was a brilliant strategy.
It was indeed, and so if for the last few drivers to cross the line for you, I mean, your classified results here from round 2 of the ARL GT Americas, and I think that's Kliss just cruising over the line there, out of fuel. Here we go.
That's setting
Sorry,
it just
Sean.
right. No, that's setting it just right.
Well, it is, yes, because he was, he was well behind, the car in front of him. He, got a lap over the car behind him, so it worked out beautifully. Perfection. Timed it to a brilliance there. He's British, so there's zero bias coming in there whatsoever. Honest. Eric Staropoli, congratulations, winner here today in round 2 of the ARL GT Americas from the Spa Francorchamps. Chris Tapio, what a drive from the Canadian. Put it on pole. Top 8 inverted, had to start from 8, came through, worked hard, picked up the second. A little bit of luck came his way, but even so, he was there to take it. Lewis, in the end, after battling with Oliveira and Delgado so much, ebbed and flowed, a brilliant battle. He picks up the last podium position thanks to the misfortune that we saw for Zane Smith. Spencer Hewins, in the end, has to settle for 5th. Martins in 6th with our winner in AM, Marcos Veniscus. Great drive from him. 7th overall as well. Torres 8th. Beaver in the Audi comes home in 9th and 2nd in AM. And Jackson's going to round out our top 10 and our podium in AM in the BMW. Zane Smith. That man needs a beer, definitely. Comes home 11th. Likewise in 12th, Brian Vors, another one in the wars. And definitely a big opportunity loss. Wow, pretty much the 3 finished together, all like the same experience. Brezhnak as well, another one, suffered a bit today in the Mercedes. Groves finishes 14th, Kliss 15th, Tugata 16th, Moran in 17th, Delgado in the end, retirement. He lost him all the way back, well, I say all the way back, on lap 23. We've done 27 laps here today at Spa. And our 3 retirements are Max Bully. We lost the Australian on lap 11. Afzal in the Ferrari, we lost on lap 8. And Russell Burton in the Porsche, very kinetic pink, lost all the way back on lap 3. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. First up, well, I think it'd be rude not to have a bit of a chat to our winner here today, Eric Staropoli of Eric Kinetics in the Porsche 911 GT3. Congratulations. Wow. I sense we spotted a bit earlier on. Was there a bit of bump drafting going on down the Kemmel Straight with yourself and your teammate Zane Smith?
There may have been a little bit, but I got
just a little bit.
A little bit, but I got a little scared. I think Zane got a little scared as well. So I think that only lasted a lap or 2 there. But easy way to save fuel, good savings fuel track. I guess I saved a lot more fuel than everybody else. I kind of got surprised how quick I came out of the pits there. But yeah, I think that decided it. That pit at the end, and then I almost spun myself out. Luckily, I had a little bit of a gap, but a good race in the end.
Fortunately, we weren't able to pick that up on the cameras. What happened? Because you lost about 4.5 seconds in 1 lap.
Yeah, it's funny. It's every lap in practice I was doing, that was the same spot where I was spinning out. So I don't know really what happened. I can't remember. I think I just gave it too much.
Was Eric?
Through the S's, down the S's before the long last straight. Before the little quick left right-hander. Yeah, so I don't know what happened, but I think I just gave it too much gas. Maybe I hit the sand a little bit, and just luckily I was a slow incident, and I was able to spin it around. But yeah, it was clean. Other than that, I like it.
Well, in the end, it didn't matter because you picked up the victory, and that is the main thing. Eric, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
The boys, the Aerokinetic boys, just welcomed me in. This is my first race, so first race, a win. Spencer made the setup, so shout out to Spencer. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That is Eric Staropoli of Aerokinetics in the Porsche 9 GT3. Your winner here today in round 2 from Spa. Charles, there was an abundance of drivers, but they all seem to have disappeared off, bar Jeff Lewis, who finished in 3rd. I think you should have the honours of having a bit of a chat to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jeff, great race. Get a P3 out of that. Had a really good battle with a couple of drivers during the race. Talk about that for a bit.
It was a eventful battle. That's definitely how I would put it. It was a lot of fun. It stayed clean for quite a while, and then it seems like there was some excessive use of bumpers at one point. But overall, everyone survived, and we all had a lot of fun. So,
yeah, we kind of caught one of those replays where I think it was you and Oliveira through the S's going before you get to the back straight, having a little side by side, a little off track excursions. But you both managed to save the car. Nobody put it in the wall, so you were able to battle back. And ended up with a good result, able to hold him off at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he kept the pressure on pretty much the whole race. I started pretty far down and had to try and work my way up there. And then from the time I got there, I could never pull away. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Hey, is there anybody you want to thank?
My team, of course. Hardpoint by Delta Sport. And all of our sponsors. It was a blast, and I want to thank you guys for hosting the event and, of course, the broadcast.
All right. Well, we always enjoy doing the broadcasts. So that was Jeff Lewis, P3 in the pro class. Really great battles during the race.
I think it must be something about P3s, because we're now joined by Bruce Jackson, who, well, he also picked up 3rd position, but in the AM category for Aerokinetics Purple in the BMW. Bruce, I think you were one of only 2 drivers who managed to finish where you started. Having said that, though, it definitely wasn't a quiet race for you.
No, it wasn't, but it was a good race. I mean, I had a couple trying moments in there, but that's stuff that I'll be sending forward to the stewards. But otherwise, it was a good race. I was dropping 2 to 3 seconds per lap after I hit, I forget the turn. I want to say it was turn 5, I believe it was. I took some damage across my front end, and from there I was dropping 2 to 3 seconds a lap, and I kept debating about taking the fast repair. So I just waited it out till my normal pit, took the fast repair, and dropped from 219s to 216s, and just about caught my teammate there. I was really pressing hard. I wanted to finish at least one place above where I started, but it wasn't to be. And I congratulate Aaron on holding me off and not letting me catch up to him.
Well, I mean, you say, about debating, do you take the fast repair, don't you? It's one of those tricky conundrums. So, do you try and save it for if you have a big incident where it'll really come in handy so it doesn't completely ruin your race?
Right.
I mean, the two rounds in, looking ahead to the championship, how do you fancy your chances next week?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I've never raced the full track at Suzuka. So, I really have to learn that track. I think that'll be the tough part for me. If I can get the track down, I think I'll do okay. Not sure if I'll stay with the BMW. I think this is the point where we can change cards for a couple of races. So I'll be debating about staying in the BMW or maybe switching to the Porsche. I'm not sure yet.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, but I'll figure it out. I like the way the Porsche drives also. I drove it at Road America, and I really loved it. So once again, it'll be a toss-up when we go back to Road America, whether I drive the Porsche again or if I go back to the BMW. I don't know yet. So, but those right now are my two favorite cars. I used to be the Merc, but I don't know, the changes for the Merc, it just seems to be a little rear end happy, so I've kind of backed away from it.
It's also bringing on the remnants of what the old Merc was like a little. Bruce, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Yes, to my team. All these guys, we get together and we practice. We run our hosted sessions and stuff, and we're all there supporting each other, giving each other pointers. So I can't thank them enough. Without them, I'd be turning laps, really boring and looking at, data by myself, and then that never bodes well. So it's always good to have a good team around you, So great shout out to Aerokinetics, I'm one of two people that came up with Aerokinetics, and I just can't be proud enough of it.
Well, it's been an absolute barnstormer of a day for the Aerokinetics crew, hasn't it? And,
Yes,
well, one of them, podium here today at Spa, third place in the AM category. Congratulations. That is Bruce Jackson of Aerokinetics Purple in the BMW M4 GC3. Well, Charles, what a crazy race that was. Personally, I'm quite glad I stayed up till the small hours to witness that one, because I really don't know where an hour of racing went. It was just wall-to-wall action.
I mean, we turned on the turbos and we powered through that hour. It was really great racing. There were lots of battles all over the track for positions, and it was really fun to watch. Can't wait till next week.
No, I can't either. And of course, we will be live from Suzuka for that one coming up on the channel. Well, actually, of course, being the small hours, we are done and dusted for today. But tomorrow evening, well, it's the usual triple header. ARL Trucks, myself and Charles will be the commentary for that one. We head to, Road America with NASCAR trucks. That could be a little bit of an interesting one. The first of the road courses in the series. Then later in the evening, we have got big grid, big action, 2 epic series with 40 cars plus in each series. It's the SRF Weekend Warriors and IGP Fun F3. Tune in for those. Always absolutely epic racing. But wow, I've been Tim Cox with Charles Michelle. Thank you for joining us in what has been an epic round 2 of the GT Americas series here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll see you in a week's time from the land of the rising sun. It is, of course, Japan and the iconic Suzuka.